Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Road to GT Academy. As you can see, it's on driver analysis. It's the second part, so obviously the first part was the last episode where we looked at my driving experience and how I analysed each corner with the help of the instructor as well, because I had 9 laps, and how I went from a very cautious lap to a very quick lap. So it's the same principle on Gran Turismo. Like you join a time trial, so you might join the latest seasonal time trials. You look at a lap and you do 10 laps and you think, right, how am I going to get this much time, or how can I improve? So what I've done is I've got 2 replays. There's one of my lap and one of Ronin GT Robin's from Ronin GT. It's a time trial done on there. It's around Eigen Nordvand, the short track, and it's in a 207. So that initially should tell you that it's a front wheel drive car, and it's probably going to understeer really, which is the main problem. But you've got to work towards those problems. But before we look at that, we'll play each of the laps so you can have a look at both of them. Just have a look at the sort of lines, the style, sort of where you may see time straight away, and then from there we'll look at where maybe Robin could improve or I could improve, and how I would approach that situation. So let's watch these 3. It'll be my lap first, I believe. So here we go. And now we have Robin's lap. So that was the 2 laps. You probably noticed there that each lap could be improved. I know I could get 2 or 3 tenths from my own lap, and Robin can obviously improve up to my lap as well and go past my lap. So we're now going to look at that in different sectors. So we've got sector 1 of the track, which is the start finish straight to the bridge, sector 2, which is the bridge to the end of the tunnel, and then sector 3, which is the tunnel to the finish. And we'll look at them in sectors. Usually I break it down into corners when I'm doing it myself in my own time trials, but sectors was a much easier way to sort of show this, the comparisons and things like that, without it going into like a 2-hour video. So it'll be my screen in the top left and Robin's in the bottom right. I'll just get this playing up to the point. Okay, so essentially with this car, as you probably saw, it was very understeery. We did have similar lines, but it's more when you have such a underpowered car, it's more how you keep momentum, because essentially the times are going to be very similar, which they were in this time trial. I think the top 5 were separated only by a few tenths. It's about doing the little extra things which gain you that little extra time. So what we'll do is, as we approach this first corner, if you look at Robin's line initially, so the bottom right hand screen, you'll see he doesn't use as much track as I do. So if you just think about that, and I'll just stop it on the first corner. So I'm not sure whether you saw that there. I'll just replay that again. I'll just from here, if you watch, as we come down and we brake, Robin is far more into the track. So I'm using a bit of the dirt on the left as well, and I'm trying to reduce the turning angle. And the reason for that is that the car will understeer less if I'm turning less. And if I'm turning less, I can accelerate sooner and keep more speed. Whereas if you're turning sharper, you are losing time, because you're having to brake more, you can't keep as much momentum because you're going to have to turn in far more. And that's the first thing I learned when I first started this time trial. It was like, right, okay, obviously the car's going to be very understeery, and as I did the laps I figured that. How do I stop understeer? Don't turn as much. How do I not turn as much but keep momentum? Straight line the corners more. And then obviously that means I have to use more track. Obviously you want to use as much track as much as possible in any car, but in this situation it's more so because the car's going to be much more closer. There's no oversteer corrections or anything like that. It's pure understeer. So this is where your sort of driving techniques then start to focus, and how you gain that little extra time. So we'll just play this first corner through. I'll just jumped a bit, so we'll go from here. Now if you watch the angles of the corner, I don't know if you saw there, but Robin has to go deeper, as I said, and he loses sight of the inside of the corner. Now I've got that in sight, so that's always my target, to be on that line. Robin doesn't have that sight, so he's going to have to slow down a lot more to come in. We're also in different gears. I'm in first, he's in second. Now I've found with this car that if I was in first, as I went to accelerate, it gave me just the lift at the front, which I don't know, it allowed me to turn much better. So that's why I chose that. Obviously you can be a bit more patient, just stay in second, because obviously the changing gear is a bit slower, and that could lose your time essentially. But I didn't have to change gear between the first corner and the second corner. So the second corner of this track, because this first sector is the most key part of this lap, is you have to think about it, as I've mentioned previously, as prioritizing a corner. So a corner which goes onto a straight, or a sharp corner going onto a straight, is quite high priority. A sharp corner going onto a straight which is downhill, quite big priority. Obviously the straight's not that long, but the fact it's going downhill means you want to get onto that hill as fast and as quickly as possible, because the minute you accelerate you're going to start getting more speed. Just think of doing a 0 to 60 downhill compared to a 0 to 60 on the straight bit. You're going to be faster going down the hill because the weight's going down with it. Gravity is helping you down. And that's essentially what I do here. I make sure I stay as tight as possible, as humanly possible, so I can accelerate quickly out the corner. Now Robin goes slightly wide here, as you will see in a second, and that when you do a lap, you should look at different ways of taking a corner, and when you do that you should see that, oh hang on, it's downhill, I have to make sure I get on the power as soon as possible. So we'll just watch that now, hopefully from this point as it starts playing. Here we go. So if you watch, I stay really tight, Robin goes wide, stays wide, stays wide, stays wide. I'm already on the straight and I'm accelerating far quicker. And by this point I'm already a bit further down the hill, and you can see there from the tyre marks later on, the difference in speed, in where I am on the track and the speed. So as we get to this next corner, I've figured out that obviously going downhill, I want to accelerate as quick as possible, but I also want to stay very tight. So the same logic should apply for this entire sector, staying tight and accelerating as quickly as possible. So if you watch Robin again, he does go slightly wide, but he does come in at the end, which is very good. So if you can apply that logic to all the other corners, you would essentially gain the time lost. So if you play this for him, see Robin comes in. I was a bit tighter throughout the entire corner, but Robin comes in at the end tight, which can give him a good line for this next corner. And now this final corner, because we're sort of looking at the track as well, it does have camber. Now camber is very handy when it works in your favour, where you can just use it and you can accelerate quicker, earlier, because it's helping the car turn, it's keeping the car on the track. Now in this situation when I was doing it, I approached this corner from several angles. I went wide initially, came in, stayed tight, came in, because obviously I want to try and use as much of the camber so I can just straighten this corner and go straight. But once again I found that obviously turning tight meant I could use all of it and accelerate quicker. Robin obviously saw this as well, and he did the same thing, which is very good. So I'll just play this through now. So if you watch Robin or my screen, or you can watch both if you can. So stay tight, stay tight. Use that bump there, which helps with the most with the camber, and then accelerate through the corner. And that's essentially sector 1. So as we saw there, Robin didn't initially use all the track, and then he didn't stay tight enough. And it's that sort of problem you've got to sort of try and figure out. So you say, right, okay, I have this problem. This is my lap time. This person's getting this lap time. Use your ghost to your advantage, Your ghost is there to help you. So if you do a good time, then practice something different and use that ghost. Just use it on that sector, and then stay consistent for the rest of the lap. So as I said, the first sector is probably the most important, and if we look as we go into sector 2, so I'll just pause it straight away. The times is about 6/10 different. 6/10 and 35 seconds. That's a big gap. So obviously, if you just practice sector 1, don't really think about sector 2 or sector 3. Just practice sector 1. You could probably improve your time just from that. Not really caring about sector 2 and 3, just realising where you could gain time. And once you start repeating the same thing where you're improving the time, your lap time will drop, and then you can start focusing on this sector and the next sector. And then it's sort of building the puzzle, and it's like building a jigsaw. You've done the first part, you've done the outside border, where you figured out the problem of the car. You then start on each piece, each section individually, and then it comes together to be the final product. So going into sector 2, I've put we're at the same point again now, so the cameras are equal even though the times are slightly off. And what we're going to do is look at how we take this next corner. Now for me, Robin actually takes this the way I wanted to take it, but I slightly ran wide. Now running wide on this corner isn't as much of an effect because you want to accelerate throughout it, because you're going to go uphill. So obviously going uphill, you want to maintain the momentum. Imagine driving a real car, you want to maintain momentum going up the hill, so you're not struggling to get up the hill. So I recommend watching Robin's screen here. We do the same braking, we do the same sort of turning and same braking style of trail braking, and then obviously then the angle changes. So if we just watch this, so both go in at the same time, sort of similar. Robin gets that extra little bit of turning, which is very handy, which I really did want, and then accelerates out. Now I'm slightly ahead, but personally the Robin's line is quicker. I remember doing this. I made a mistake there. Now Robin could maybe do that slightly quicker, not brake as much, try and keep more momentum and get the turn in. That would give him the extra mile an hour, but it's really nothing much. So that's obviously going into the middle part of sector 2. Now in this tunnel, I want you to look at where my car is positioned, because there's enough time to do this. If you look at where my car is and where the wall is, and then where Robin's car is and where the wall is. And then look how much track is available on Robin's compared to mine. So as I play this, I'll just rewind that back a bit. So if you watch mine initially, look where my car is, and then look how I want to manipulate, and then look at Robin's now, and look how much more track's available on Robin's compared to mine. Now, I found that even the slightest bit of angle, because remember these are very low powered cars, if you think about angles and things like that, if you take a slightly sharper, as I mentioned earlier in Sector 1, the tighter lines are the faster. Well, if you've got a really long left-hander where you're doing a huge amount of turning for a long while, if you get that extra 10 degrees of turning and you stay tighter, you're going to gain lap time. Imagine going round, imagine an oval, and it's constantly left turns. You could both flat it, but one's higher, one's lower, and they're the same speed. Just imagine they're the same speed. The lower one, the tighter one, is going to go round quicker than the one higher. And that's essentially that. With a car like this, you have to make sure you're sort of maximising the capability, you know, getting that extra little turn in. Yeah, if you hit the wall, it ruins your lap, but really in a time trial, you're going for that perfect lap, so you have to sort of start going towards that. Obviously, once you've done other parts of the lap where you can improve quicker and easier, like Sector 1, obviously 6/10 is a big amount, where you could get that extra, you know, get that extra lap time before you focus on the other sectors. So we come to Sector 3, and I've mentioned in the past about license tests and GT Academy this year, where you had the 8 sections, and you had 1-1 to 8-4, where it was just really gold in them. But as me and Ghost have said to many people, they are very, very useful. You might not think they're useful, but they are. So I used the Nissan Leaf one at this track. I got a really good time on this, and it's the same principle that I used in that car that I used for this car. It's the same sort of car. It's quite underpowered. It's front wheel drive. You know, you've got to sort of maximise the potential of the car. And if you think about that in GT Academy, the times varied. You know, there was at the top it was very close, but if you think about the top 250 on that time trial, there's going to be 2 temps separating them. 2 temps on one sector. You know, maths. You don't need to do the maths. That's time. So initially, if we look at the lines again, as I've mentioned about the first corner, this corner you had to straighten it out as much as possible. The first part of the corner. That way you reduce tyre squeal, you can maintain more speed through the corner, and just get a much smoother line. So if you look at where Robin is compared to me, you'll see the difference. So let's just play this through. So as you can see there, Robin's already turning in where I'm already still on the left, which means I'm going to have a much straighter corner than Robin, which means he has to turn more, which means he can't accelerate as much. You'll also notice that I stay in third a bit longer, but that's just because I'm going uphill and turning. I figured that I could gain a bit more speed. It's very little in it, to be fair. But yeah, if you look at that again, it's just about straightening this turn as much as possible, which I had to do in GT Academy, to get the best line and best speed through the corner. And it's the same again with the next part of the corner. Both these corners link up really well. If you get the first bit right, you can get the second bit right. If you get the first bit slightly wrong, you get the second bit wrong, and then you've lost a lot of time. So as we just play this through, so we come to the second bit now, and it's sticking slightly. Sorry about that. We'll just re-watch that through. So as we come here, we come to this corner, and notice now Robin is missed the apex, and I've hit the apex. And due to that, I've got a much straighter angle going up to the next corner. He's going to have to turn more to the left to make sure he stays on the track. Now, in that situation, Robin may have lost a tenth or two, and that's sort of a key thing I want to make with this third sector, is that you know, you can get all the corner right, but you've got to make sure you hit apexes and keep the turn in. And the thing was with this as well is tyre squeal. The tyre squeal at this part was you have to maintain the most speed because you're going uphill, and if you don't maintain that speed, you're not going to climb the hills fast, and it loses you a lot of time. Like I've missed the apex on this corner before, and you can lose a tenth, you can lose 2 tenths, and it really is like that. So we're going to go up to the last corner now, and if I just pause it there a second, you'll notice that I'm more to the right. I'm trying to straighten that braking as much as possible, because braking straight means I slow the car faster than if I was turning. Robin is slightly to the left, so he's going to have to turn slightly in the braking, or he can turn now and then the car's a bit offset with the weight. So that's something else to remember, is that, you know, braking in a straight line is faster obviously than turning, but you have to set yourself up for a corner beforehand, and that's where all the corners interlink. You do a left, a right, a left, a right, a left, a right. They have to interlink. You have to get the best line through them all, not just one in particular. So this is a long right-hander, so it's similar to the right-hander previous in Sector 2, and this has got a double apex, so you're going to have to go deep again to then come back round. So if we just watch this as this corner, and then we'll rewatch it again. I'd recommend watching Robin's screen, to be fair. So we're coming in, we're braking, we're braking, we're braking. Similar lines. Robin's gone on the power really early and completely missed the apex, and then he's had to lift off and then come back on the power. Now if you watch Top Gear, when James May was being taught how to race on a track, I think it was Jackie Stewart, he said, don't put the power on until you know you don't have to take it off. Now Robin had to come off slightly to go back on it again, which means you've done the corner wrong. You go into a corner, you balance the throttle, and then you accelerate. That's how you should drive. You should not go on the power to come off the power to go on the power to come off the power, and things like that. So that was the first mistake. He was very eager to just get on the power, which meant he ran wide. Especially in a front-wheel drive car, you put the power on, you're going to go wide. But you've just got to be patient with a car. You know, when you know you can accelerate. If you're really eager, I know how easy it is. Like, you've got 1/10, you're up 1/10. Oh no, I must accelerate now. Oh no, I've ruined my lap. It's essentially that. You've just got to be patient. And as you can see as well, I've gained far more time because of that. Just being that slight patient. I may have lost a mile an hour in the corner, but I've gained 5 miles an hour out the corner. It's a long straight, and if I was going to do another lap, I'm well up to speed and prepped for the lap. Because remember, the start of the lap you can help gain a tenth just by getting a massive start on the lap. By prepping, going slightly wider at the last corner, and making it real big, like point it and just put the hammer down. So that's essentially how I would look at it from Robin's perspective. I would initially look at the car, do 15 laps, 10-15 laps, go, right, okay, this is the problem with the car, I've got to do this, this and this and this. This is what can help me on the track, so obviously downhill corners, straights, they're the more priority corners I need to focus on. This is what I have to do. Okay, so what can I do to help with the understeer, how I can maintain speed and momentum. As I've said throughout the entirety of that, I talked about tightening lines, or tight lines, straightening the corner, and keeping momentum. They were the 3 things I mentioned there. They were the 3 things that would have helped me gain that second over Robin. I also mentioned about in that picking where the most time is. So Sector 1, easily where the most time is compared to the rest. So what I'll do now is I'll just play through some footage of outside the car, and you really can look at the positioning of the it's a bit laggy there, I'll just restart that, sorry about that. You can look at the positioning of the car and sort of where it is on the track. So if we just watch this now, as you can see, I was more to the left, this is me. And all this stuff is what I do. When I approach a track, I do 10 laps, I think, right, okay, how can I improve? I look at one corner in particular, like the most priority corner. Right, okay, I gained a tenth, right, nice. Where can I gain more time? And then you start perfecting each corner, and then you might have to come back to a corner and think, right, okay, how do I do that even better than what I did before? And you keep doing that every time until you can keep improving. And never think you've got the perfect lap, because you can always go faster. It's just a fact, you can always go faster. Like here, for example, I missed the apex a bit, I would have lost time. As you can see, I've still got a bit of track there that I could use. Let's get turning. I've come in a bit tighter there. Now if you watch that on Robbins, he's a bit further out. As you can see, I've turned him. And this is all what it's about, is just getting that perfect lap. Even though you can't get it, but you know, trying to get it. But if you think about each corner as there's, and each sector is separate, you can sort of think of it as pieces of a jigsaw that when you put it together gets you that lap time. So this is Robin, so if we look at his line and where he's on the track, look at all that track on the left that he could still use, means he's lost time straight away in that. Once again he's missed the apex, ran really wide, and that's lost him a lot of time. So there on the right, he's missed it, there he's come in, that's really good recovery there. And left, he's using the camber there, which is really good, and it's accelerating through the corner, that's really good. So as we come up, but we're trying to stay as tight as possible. Robin realises that's the best way to do this, and he's braking, trails braked in, wants to let the car run a bit, and then accelerates down into the late apex there, that's really good. So if we look on the left now, look how much track he is leaving there, what, a foot and a half? That could be used, that could be half a tenth, something like that, you know, that's time that could be gained. Once again, need to use a bit more of the track. So we're going to go to the left, misses the apex by quite a bit, forces him left a bit more there, as you saw. Not straightening this bit out, means the car's weight is still moving about a bit. And then he's missed the apex completely there, just from being a bit too eager to accelerate. So that was a running of commentary of that lap as well. So that's how Robin could improve. Thank you, Robin, for letting me use your replay. I chose Robin's because he has very similar lines. But that's how Robin could improve if he just focused a bit more on track positioning and just smoothness, you know, thinking about reducing the corner angles, straightening the corners as much as possible. So that's essentially an analysis of Robin and how I would look at analysing myself. I'm not sure what the next episode's on. I've not got my list anywhere, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'm also going to look at, actually, before I go, the webcam things of my pedals and steering wheel and angles and stuff. I will get that done. I'm still looking at buying them. But yeah, that's another episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Any questions, any comments, feel free to post them, ask me them, etc, etc. But thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next episode.